Well, my name's Michael Hurwitz. I'm a furniture maker. I've mentioned several times the kind of a pivotal moment for me was when I saw an exhibition, 1972, and I saw a show with 5 furniture makers: Wendell Castle, George Nakashima, Sam Maloof, Art Carpenter, and Wharton Esherick. Making work was never a problem. There was only a problem when the economy tanked in 2008. First it was money trouble. And then a couple of years into it, when there had been no work for a couple of years, that bordered on something like an identity crisis, which I had never had before. I thought there was a moment a few years into it where I thought, well, apparently I'm not a furniture maker anymore. So now what am I? And I couldn't imagine what else, I couldn't imagine anything I was capable of doing. But that was a moment, on a timeline that was tough. But other than that, there haven't really been any problems. It's been a great lifestyle, a rewarding lifestyle. These, I'm going to add some detail to these that'll bring them to life a little more, and also introduce another scale. I'd like to do more of the same. So I'd like to do exactly what I'm doing, but more of it. I'd like to have I'd like to have a few clients waiting in the wings, like say 3 pieces down the road I know that I'll be building the next 3 pieces, either for clients or for an exhibition. That would be rewarding. Again, I can't help but think of Wendell's 30 pieces a year, not only making them, but selling them. I would like for the work to be seen by more people. It's a little disturbing that there are so few opportunities to show work. There are really only a couple of galleries, and a couple of shows that the galleries will move work to. So if I spend 3 or 5, 6 months making a piece, I would just like more people to see it before it ends up wherever it's going to end up. So, it's great if somebody buys it, that's wonderful. But then it's gone straight from my studio into somebody's home, and 6 months of work is never seen by anybody except that family. So that's, I guess I'd like for the work to be more visible. I was sort of surprised when I put together the presentation for the Furniture Society. It went back to work in college up to current work. I was sort of surprised at how consistent the interests that I try to explore and represent in the work was. So I guess that's what you call a point of view, and the point of view hasn't changed much. I say about my furniture that I want it to be present in the room, but you can ignore the fact that it's there until you need it or want it, and then it'll emerge. And I think there's a quality that's like that in Japanese. And the 2 residencies that I did there were 2 6-month residencies I'm just going to guess about 10 years apart. Well, there's a quality that I really admire and appreciate. I can't say I know much about it, but when I see it, I feel a certain way. What I see is very deliberate, very careful arrangements of everything. There's nothing left to chance, but none of it's in your face. That scale of whatever that pattern is or set of materials, that that they chose. There's a kind of a harmonious balance that makes you feel calm. But you never say, it's never actually a thought. You don't say, wow, I feel really calm here. You just do. Vertical grain wood instead of flat sawn wood. It's a subtle shift, but it creates part of the harmony that you're enveloped in. So I would like, I would like for my furniture to produce that same kind of, I'm going to say a thoughtless sense of well-being. I like that sense of like a calm place from which you can move forward. I'd probably still like to build a house at some point. So lately I've been entertaining this fantasy of building a house on top of the shop, which would put us all under one roof again, and I like that. As much as I love the new studio, again, it's bigger and brighter than my old studio. But I did like to go down after dinner and just do something casually for an hour and then come back up. I could do that when it was all under one roof. I also thought it would be fun, or maybe funny, I'm not sure, to build an exact replica of the tiny ranch house that I was born in Miami, and just plop that on top of the shop. And I love the symmetry of being born and dying in the same shape interior. But then just for parity's sake, we'd need to have Mommy's little 8 mat room that they grew up in. We could do a kind of assemblage of some sort. It could be done. But more importantly, it would be, it would be an art project. I'd get to make whatever I wanted to make and then live in it. So this is where I would build, on top of this parapet here. And on top of this. And that would be a wraparound porch. That there would be basically a covered hallway which would block out some of the noise and the sight of the train and create kind of a courtyard effect here. I think that the furniture that I make is a way of extending the life of the tree, and I feel like it's a fair trade. But I hate to see just kind of wanton destruction of forests for conspicuous consumption of exotic flooring, or I'd say that's counter to a fine craft sensibility. I think it's probably more complicated now, as it's like everywhere, it's harder to make a living as a traditional craftsman. But there's still a learned appreciation for fine things, and there's a tradition of gift giving. You can appreciate a kind of intensity towards a search for perfection, a search for beauty. Well, my family, I want to expand it to my blood family, before I was married. What that has always meant is my parents have died. I know my brother and sister are always there. So there's always been that, like a a strong familial love and support. I guess, Mommy and I have our interest in being in our studio is, I think, partly what's enabled us to stay together for so long. And, we're sort of both in our own separate worlds, but that works out. Mommy always surprises me with her take on any given situation. There's always learning something new about the way she sees the world, and that's always interesting to me. What does the family mean to me? Basically, it's a center of life, really. The only other thought that comes to mind is now that Marina's not living here when she's at college, theoretically that gives Mommy and I the freedom to move around a little more. We can take vacations, which we've never really done. So I think we'll have a little more freedom now, and I'd love to travel while we're still young enough and healthy enough to get around and enjoy everything. There's so much of the world that I haven't seen, and now I'm starting to feel the pressure to catch up.